The alarm clock buzzed at 5 in the morning, just like it did every single day. Kang Minho opened his eyes and stared at the ceiling of his small bedroom. He could see a water stain in the corner that he kept meaning to fix. Maybe this weekend, he thought. Then again, he had thought that for the past 3 months. He got out of bed and walked to the bathroom. His reflection showed a man who looked older than his 45 years. Gray hair was starting to show at his temples. Lines marked his face from years of working and not enough smiling. He splashed cold water on his face and got dressed in his usual clothes, old jeans and a plain shirt. His work uniform was waiting in his truck. The house was quiet. It had been quiet for 15 years now. Sometimes Minho liked the quiet. Other times it felt too heavy, like something pressing on his chest. He made coffee in the kitchen the same way he always did. 2 scoops of coffee, fill the pot with water, press the button. While it brewed, he looked out the window at his garden. The garden was a mess. Minho knew it was a mess. The grass was too long and weeds grew between his vegetable plants. But there were also tomatoes turning red on the vine and peppers growing in crooked rows. He had planted them himself, and they were growing despite his lack of care. That was something, at least. He poured his coffee into a chipped mug and went outside. The morning air was cool and smelled like earth and dew. His property was far from town, far from neighbors, far from everyone. That was exactly why he had bought it after the divorce. He wanted space. He wanted to be alone. After his wife left him for another man, after the fighting and the lawyers and the papers, he just wanted peace. Minho walked through his garden, pulling a few weeds as he went. The work was simple and required no thinking. That was good. He had spent too many years thinking, worrying, trying to fix a marriage that was already broken. Now he just wanted simple things: work, garden, sleep, repeat. At 6:30 he got into his old truck. The engine coughed before starting, but it always started eventually. He had fixed it himself using videos from the internet and tools from the hardware store. The truck was older than his marriage had been, but unlike his marriage, he could fix the truck when something broke. The drive to work took 20 minutes on empty roads. He worked as a janitor at a research facility outside of town. The place was big and modern, full of scientists doing work he did not understand. They studied space and satellites and other things that seemed far away and unimportant. Minho cleaned their floors and emptied their trash and fixed things when they broke. The other janitors talked during breaks, sharing stories about their families and their lives. Minho usually sat alone eating his packed lunch and reading. He had been reading the same science fiction book for 3 weeks now. It was about humans meeting aliens in space. He found it funny that he cleaned a building where people studied space, while he read stories about space in his free time. Life was strange that way. His supervisor, a woman named Park Yoonbi, sometimes tried to talk to him. She was kind, but Minho kept his answers short. Yes, the work was done. No, he did not need help. Yes, everything was fine. She eventually stopped asking so many questions. People always did. The day passed like all the others. He mopped floors in the laboratories. He cleaned bathrooms until they sparkled. He replaced light bulbs and fixed a door that would not close properly. The scientists walked past him like he was invisible. Minho did not mind. Being invisible was easier than being seen. At 5 o'clock, he clocked out and drove home. He stopped at the small store in town to buy rice and vegetables and meat. The cashier, an old man who had worked there for decades, nodded at him. They never spoke. Minho paid and left. Back home, he cooked dinner for himself, rice soup and some stir-fried vegetables. He ate at his small kitchen table, alone, with only the sound of the television for company. The news talked about things happening in distant places, wars and politics and problems that felt very far away from his quiet house. After dinner, he washed his dishes and went to his workshop. The workshop was really just his garage, filled with tools and projects. He was currently restoring an old motorcycle he had found at a junkyard. It was slow work, but he had time. He had nothing but time. As he worked, his mind wandered. He thought about his ex-wife sometimes, though less now than before. He wondered if she was happy. He hoped she was, in a distant way. He did not hate her anymore. Hate took too much energy and he was tired. He thought about his life and how it had become so small. Wake up, work, come home, sleep, repeat. Was this all there was? Sometimes he felt like he was waiting for something, but he did not know what. Other times he felt like he was hiding, and that was closer to the truth. At 10 o'clock, Minho cleaned up his tools and went inside. He took a shower and got ready for bed. Through his bedroom window, he could see his garden in the moonlight. The plants cast strange shadows. The night was very dark out here, far from the city lights. He could see stars, thousands of them scattered across the sky like spilled salt. He thought about the book he was reading. Humans meeting aliens, making first contact, having adventures across the galaxy. It all seemed so impossible and far away. Real life was not like that. Real life was quiet houses and lonely dinners and working until you were too tired to think. Minho got into bed and closed his eyes. Tomorrow would be the same as today. And the day after that would be the same as tomorrow. This was his life now, and he had accepted it. He had built walls around himself, and those walls kept him safe from being hurt again. But as he drifted off to sleep, something changed. He did not know it yet, but his quiet life was about to end. The universe had plans for Kang Minho. Plans that involved crashed spaceships and alien queens and adventures he could never imagine. Outside, in the darkness, something moved across the sky. It was too fast to be a plane and too large to be a satellite. It streaked across the stars like a falling torch, leaving a trail of light behind it. The object was falling, tumbling, breaking apart at the edges. Inside his house, Minho slept. He dreamed of empty rooms and endless hallways, of cleaning floors that never stayed clean. He did not hear the sound growing louder in the sky above him. He did not see the light getting brighter, turning night into day. Then the sound became too loud to ignore. A roaring, screaming sound that shook the walls of his house. Minho jerked awake, his heart pounding. The room was filled with blinding white light. He ran to the window and looked out at his garden. Something massive was falling from the sky, coming straight toward his property. Fire surrounded it, and the air itself seemed to scream. Minho could only stand and stare, frozen in shock and disbelief, as the impossible became real. The object hit his garden with a force that knocked him backward. The sound was like the world ending. Glass shattered. The house shook. Car alarms went off in the distance. And then slowly everything went quiet again. Minho lay on his bedroom floor, ears ringing, heart racing. He could smell smoke and burning metal. Slowly, carefully he got to his feet and looked out the window again. In the middle of his garden, crushing his tomato plants and destroying his carefully planted rows, sat a spaceship. Minho stood at his broken window and stared at the thing in his garden. His brain could not process what his eyes were seeing. The object was huge, maybe 30 feet long and half as wide. It looked like someone had carved it from black glass, smooth and reflective. Strange patterns ran along its surface, glowing with a soft blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Smoke rose from the ground around it. His tomato plants were completely destroyed, crushed flat under the weight of the ship. The fence on the east side of his property had been knocked down. His carefully maintained garden looked like a disaster zone. He should call someone, Minho thought. The police. The military. Someone official who knew how to handle situations like this. But his phone was in the kitchen and he could not seem to make his legs move. He just stood there staring. The ship made a sound. A deep humming noise that he could feel in his chest. The blue lights along its surface pulsed brighter, then dimmer, then brighter again. Steam hissed from vents he had not noticed before. The whole thing looked damaged. Scorched marks covered the surface, and cracks ran through the black material. Minho forced himself to move. He grabbed his jacket and pulled on his boots. His hands were shaking, but he told himself to stay calm. Maybe it was some kind of military drone. Maybe it was a satellite that fell out of orbit. Maybe there was a reasonable explanation that did not involve aliens and space travel. He walked outside slowly. The night air was cold and smelled like burned metal and ozone. His feet crunched on debris scattered across his yard. Pieces of something that looked like metal but felt wrong when he touched them. Too light. Too smooth. As he got closer to the ship, the humming sound grew louder. He could see his reflection in the black surface, distorted and strange. Up close, the ship was even more impossible. No seams, no rivets, no windows that he could see. Just smooth black material covered in those glowing patterns. Then, with a hiss of escaping air, a section of the ship opened. Minho jumped back, his heart hammering in his chest. A ramp extended from the opening, unfolding in sections until it touched the ground. Light spilled out from inside, bright and white. For a long moment, nothing happened. Minho stood 10 feet away, ready to run. His truck was right there. He could get in and drive away and let someone else deal with this. But he did not run. A figure appeared in the doorway. Even from a distance, Minho could tell it was not human. It was too tall, maybe 7 feet, and it moved wrong. Too smooth. Too graceful. The figure stepped onto the ramp, and the light from inside the ship illuminated it clearly. Minho forgot how to breathe. She was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. Her skin seemed to be made of crystal or glass, translucent and shimmering. Colors moved beneath the surface, shifting from blue to purple to silver. Her face was human-like but perfect, with large eyes that glowed with an inner light. She wore armor that looked like it had been grown rather than built, curved plates that fit her body perfectly. But she was hurt. Minho could see that immediately. She limped as she walked down the ramp. Dark liquid, almost black, dripped from a wound in her side. Her armor was cracked and burned in places. She held one arm close to her body. She reached the bottom of the ramp and spoke. The words were like music and breaking glass mixed together, beautiful and sharp at the same time. Minho had no idea what she was saying. She spoke again, more urgently this time. Then she seemed to notice that he did not understand. She touched something on her wrist and her voice changed. The words still made no sense, but now they sounded distorted, filtered through some kind of machine. Minho held up his hands, trying to show he meant no harm. "I don't understand," he said. His voice sounded small and scared. The woman, the alien, frowned. She looked frustrated. She pointed at herself and spoke a single word. It sounded like Yuna. Then she pointed at him and waited. "Minho," he said, pointing at himself. "My name is Minho." She repeated his name, getting it almost right. Then she spoke again in that musical breaking glass language. She gestured at her side, at the wound that was still bleeding. The dark blood looked wrong against her crystal skin. Minho understood. She was hurt and needed help. All his fear suddenly seemed less important than the fact that something was injured in his garden. "Okay," he said, nodding. "Okay, I can help. Come inside." He gestured toward his house. Yuna looked at the small building, then back at him. She seemed to be considering something. Then she took a step forward and immediately stumbled. Minho rushed forward without thinking and caught her arm. Her skin was warm and smooth, like touching glass that had been in the sun. She was heavy, much heavier than she looked. She leaned on him, and he could feel her weight pressing down. He half walked, half dragged her toward his house. Getting her up the porch steps was difficult. She was so much taller than him, and each step seemed to cause her pain. She made sounds that might have been words or might have been cries of hurt. Minho kept talking to her, saying things like "almost there" and "just a bit more," even though he knew she probably did not understand. Inside, he helped her to the kitchen table. She sat down heavily, and the chair creaked under her weight. In the light of his kitchen, she looked even more alien. Her skin reflected the overhead bulb, casting strange patterns on the walls. Her blood was still dripping, forming dark puddles on his floor. Minho had a first aid kit in the bathroom. He grabbed it and brought it to the kitchen. He also brought towels and warm water. He had no idea if human first aid would work on an alien, but he had to try something. He knelt beside her and gestured at her wound. "Can I?" he asked. Yuna looked at him for a long moment. Her eyes were incredibly bright, like looking into colored lights. Then she nodded and moved her hand away from her side. The wound was bad. The armor had cracked, and beneath it her skin was torn. The dark blood flowed steadily. Minho took a clean towel and pressed it against the wound. Yuna made a sharp sound and tensed, but she did not pull away. He worked carefully, cleaning the wound as best he could. Her blood was thicker than human blood, almost like syrup. It dried quickly, forming crystalline structures on the towel. Minho used antiseptic from his first aid kit, then bandages. He had no idea if he was helping or making things worse. Yuna watched him work. At one point she spoke again. The translator on her wrist crackled and produced broken English. "You help?" "Why help?" Minho paused and looked up at her. "Because you're hurt," he said simply. "That's what people do." "We help." She seemed confused by this answer. She touched the device on her wrist, adjusting something. "I am Queen," the translator said. "Royalty. You are servant class lower, you should not touch." Minho sat back and looked at her. "I don't know anything about queens or servants," he said. "I just know you're bleeding in my kitchen and I'm trying to help. If you don't want my help, you can leave." Yuna stared at him. Then slowly something changed in her expression. It might have been respect, or maybe just surprise. "I stay," she said through the translator. "Ship needs repair." 2 weeks. Maybe more. 2 weeks? Minho repeated. He looked at the alien queen sitting at his kitchen table. His quiet life, his careful routine, his peaceful solitude. All of it was gone now, replaced by the impossible. Yuna nodded. Then her eyes dimmed slightly and she swayed in the chair. Minho caught her before she fell. "You need rest," he said. "Come on." He helped her to his bedroom, the only bed in the house. She was so heavy that his arms ached. He helped her lie down on his bed, and she immediately closed her eyes. Her breathing slowed and deepened. Minho stood in the doorway of his bedroom, looking at the alien queen sleeping in his bed. Outside, her spaceship sat in his ruined garden. His quiet life was definitely over. The next morning came too quickly. Minho had slept on the couch or tried to sleep. Mostly he had stared at the ceiling, listening to the strange sounds coming from his bedroom. Yuna made noises in her sleep, musical tones that might have been words or dreams. When daylight came through the windows, Minho got up and made coffee. His body ached from the uncomfortable couch and the stress of the previous night. He kept looking out the window at the spaceship in his garden. In the morning light, it looked even more impossible. The black surface reflected the sunrise, turning purple and gold. He heard movement from the bedroom. Yuna appeared in the doorway, moving slowly. She looked better than last night. Her skin was brighter, and the colors beneath the surface moved more smoothly. She had removed most of her armor, and underneath she wore a simple suit that looked like it was made from liquid metal. "Coffee?" Minho asked, holding up his mug. Yuna tilted her head, confused. He poured a second cup and handed it to her. She looked at it suspiciously, then took a small sip. Her eyes widened. She took another sip, then another. "Good," her translator said. "Hot, bitter, good." Minho almost smiled. "Yeah, coffee is good." They sat at the kitchen table in awkward silence. Minho tried not to stare, but it was hard. She was so strange, so beautiful, so clearly not human. Yuna seemed equally curious about him, looking around his simple kitchen like it was a museum. "I must go to work," Minho said finally. "My job. If I don't go, people will ask questions," Yuna frowned. "Work? You are servant?" "I'm a janitor. I clean buildings." Her translator made several clicking sounds like it was trying to process this. "Janitor!" "Cleaning servant, yes." Minho felt a flash of irritation. "I'm not a servant. I'm an employee. I get paid to clean." "Same thing," Yuna said, but she sounded less certain now. Minho stood and rinsed his coffee cup. "You need to stay hidden. Don't go outside. Don't let anyone see you. I'll be back this afternoon." "I am queen," Yuna said. "I do not take orders." "You're a queen with a broken spaceship and nowhere to go," Minho replied. "So maybe just for now you can follow some simple instructions." They stared at each other. Then Yuna nodded slowly. 2 weeks. Then I leave your world." 2 weeks, Minho agreed. Work was strange that day. Minho kept thinking about the alien in his house and the spaceship in his garden. He mopped floors and cleaned bathrooms on autopilot, his mind elsewhere. His supervisor Yunbi noticed. "Are you okay?" she asked. "You seem distracted." "I'm fine," Minho lied. "Just tired." When he got home that afternoon, he found Yuna examining his television. She had figured out how to turn it on and was watching a news program with intense focus. "Your world is primitive," she said when he walked in, "but also strange, complex." "Thanks, I think," Minho said. He put down his bag and started preparing dinner. "Are you hungry?" "Yes, very." He made a simple meal, rice and vegetables and some chicken. He was not sure if aliens could eat human food, but Yuna ate everything he gave her. She seemed to enjoy it, especially the kimchi. "Spicy," she said. Burn's mouth. "But good." After dinner, Yuna wanted to see her ship. Minho followed her outside. She walked around the damaged vessel, touching it gently and speaking in her own language. The translator stayed silent. These words were private, he realized. "Maybe prayers or curses, can you fix it?" Minho asked. "Systems are rebooting," Yuna explained, "but external damage is severe. Needs repairs I cannot do alone." Minho looked at the scorched hull and the cracked plating. "I might be able to help." Yuna looked at him skeptically. "You are janitor." "Cleaning servant, not engineer. I fix things," Minho said. "It's part of what I do. Broken doors, damaged equipment, electrical problems. I've been fixing things my whole life." He walked closer to the ship, examining the damaged sections. The material was strange, but damage was damage. Cracks needed to be sealed. Burned sections needed to be replaced or covered. The principles were the same, even if the materials were different. Over the next few days, they fell into a routine. Minho went to work each morning. Yuna stayed hidden in the house. In the evenings, they worked on the ship together. Yuna explained the systems to him through her improving translator. Minho offered solutions based on his experience with Earth technology. He used epoxy resin to seal cracks. He rigged LED lights to replace damaged bioluminescent panels. He created a makeshift cloaking system using reflective tarps and careful positioning. From the road, the ship looked like a strange shed or storage building. Yuna watched him work with growing respect. "You are clever," she said one evening. "For a human." "Thanks, I think," Minho replied. He was lying under the ship trying to reconnect some kind of power coupling. "Tell me about your life," Yuna said suddenly. "Why do you live alone? Where is your family?" Minho was quiet for a moment. "I was married once, she left." "That was 15 years ago, she left, why?" "Because I was not enough," Minho said quietly. "Because she found someone better." "Then she was foolish," Yuna said. Minho slid out from under the ship and looked up at her. "What about you? You're a queen. You must have family, advisors, guards, where are they?" Yuna's skin shifted to darker colors. Blue and purple and almost black. "Dead or traitors," she said. "My trusted advisor Tajin wanted my throne. He orchestrated a coup, killed my guards, destroyed my flagship. I barely escaped." "I'm sorry," Minho said. "Sorry." Yuna looked confused. "Why?" "It is not your fault. Because something bad happened to you. That's what people say. I'm sorry. It means we care." Yuna was quiet for a long moment. "I have been queen for 20 years, she said finally. "I rule 17 star systems. Billions of people, but no one has ever said sorry to me before." They sat in the garden as the sun set, an alien queen and a human janitor. Above them, stars began to appear. Yuna pointed out her homeworld, a star system Minho could not see with his naked eyes. "Do you miss it?" he asked. "Yes," Yuna said, "but also no. Being queen is lonely, always surrounded by people but never truly known." "I understand," Minho said. "I've been alone for 15 years, but I was lonely for longer than that." Inside the house, Yuna explored more of human culture. She discovered movies and spent hours watching science fiction films. She found them hilarious, laughing at the inaccurate portrayals of space travel and alien life. "We do not have tentacles," she said, watching an old film. "And we do not eat human brains." "Why do your people think this?" "Because we're scared of what we don't understand," Minho said. Yuna looked at him thoughtfully. "But you are not scared of me." "I was at first," Minho admitted. "But then you were just someone who needed help. That's all." One evening, Minho taught Yuna how to cook simple Korean dishes. She was terrible at it, burning rice and cutting vegetables into strange shapes. But she laughed, actual laughter, and the sound was like music. "I have servants who cook," she said. "I never needed to learn." "Everyone should know how to cook," Minho said. "It's a basic skill." "On my world, queens do not have basic skills," Yuna replied. "We have people for that." "Sounds lonely," Minho said. Yuna stopped chopping vegetables and looked at him. Her skin shifted through colors he had not seen before, soft pinks and warm golds. "Yes," she said quietly. "It is very lonely." As the days passed, something changed between them. The awkwardness faded. They talked more easily. Minho found himself looking forward to coming home, to seeing what Yuna had discovered that day. She asked endless questions about Earth, about humans, about his life. One night, Minho showed her his old photographs. His wedding picture, photos of his parents who had died years ago, pictures of a younger version of himself who still smiled easily. "You look sad in these recent years," Yuna observed. "Even when you smile." "I was sad," Minho admitted. "I'm sad, or I was." "I don't know anymore." "Why?" Yuna asked. "Because I gave up," Minho said. "After my wife left, I just stopped trying. I stopped living. I've been hiding here for 15 years, pretending that being alone was the same as being safe." Yuna touched his hand gently. Her crystal skin was warm. "I understand," she said. "I have been hiding too. Behind my crown, behind my duties, never letting anyone see the real me." They sat close together on the couch, looking at old photographs. Outside, the spaceship hummed quietly in the garden. Above, stars wheeled slowly across the night sky. 2 weeks will be over soon," Minho said. "Yes," Yuna replied, but neither of them seemed happy about it. It was day 9 when everything changed. Minho was at work mopping the floor in one of the laboratories. He was thinking about dinner, about what he would cook for Yuna that evening. She had asked him to make more of that spicy soup. He was smiling to himself, actually smiling, when his phone buzzed. The message was from his home security camera. He had set it up years ago and mostly forgot about it. But now it was sending him an alert. Motion detected. He opened the app and felt his blood turn cold. 3 figures stood at the edge of his property. They were tall and wore dark armor that seemed to absorb light. They moved with the fluid grace that Minho now recognized as alien. They were scanning his property with devices that glowed in their hands. He immediately called his home phone. Yuna answered on the 3rd ring. "There are people outside," Minho said quietly. "Aliens, 3 of them. They're looking for you." There was silence on the other end. Then Yuna spoke, and her voice was different, cold, hard. "Hunters. Tejan sent them. I need to go." "No," Minho said. "Stay inside. Lock the doors. I'm coming home." "This is not your fight," Yuna said. "It is now," Minho replied and hung up. He told his supervisor he was sick and needed to leave. Yunbi looked concerned but let him go. Minho drove home faster than he should have, his hands gripping the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. When he arrived, the 3 figures were closer to his house. They had not seen him yet. Minho parked his truck behind his workshop and ran inside through the back door. Yuna was standing in the living room wearing her full armor again. She looked like a warrior queen now, dangerous and beautiful. In her hand was a weapon that glowed with blue light. "You should run," she said. "They will kill you just for helping me." "This is my home," Minho said. "Nobody comes to my home and threatens people. Not anymore." He went to his gun cabinet and pulled out his hunting rifle. He also grabbed his grandfather's old shotgun. Yuna watched him with an expression he could not read. "You cannot fight them with those," she said. "They are trained warriors. Elite soldiers." "Maybe," Minho said. "But they don't know this property like I do. And they probably think I'm just a weak human who cleans floors." He loaded both guns and checked his ammunition. Then he went to his workshop and grabbed other supplies. Wire, batteries, fertilizer, old electronics. Yuna followed him, asking questions. "What are you doing?" "Setting traps," Minho said. "Making defenses. If they want to fight, we'll give them one." He worked quickly, setting up tripwires around the property. He rigged explosives using fertilizer and fuel. Controlled by remote triggers he built from garage door openers. He set up spotlights that he could turn on to blind attackers. He created false trails and dead ends. Yuna helped, using her knowledge of Valtheon tactics to predict their approach. She told him where they would likely attack from, what formations they would use. Together they turned his simple property into a defensive position. As the sun began to set, they waited. Minho checked his rifle for the 10th time. His hands were steady now. The fear had burned away, replaced by something else. Determination. Anger. This was his home. These invaders had no right to be here. "Why are you doing this?" Yuna asked quietly. They were sitting behind cover in his workshop, watching the property through the windows. "Because it's the right thing to do," Minho said. "That is not enough reason to risk death." Minho looked at her. In the dim light, her skin glowed softly. "Maybe I'm tired of hiding. Maybe I'm tired of being alone. Maybe for the first time in 15 years I have something worth fighting for." Before Yuna could respond, alarms began to beep. Movement sensors were triggering. The hunters were coming. 3 figures emerged from the tree line, moving fast and low. They spread out, covering each other, advancing with military precision. Minho watched them through his scope. Their armor looked advanced, probably bulletproof. But everyone had weak points. The first hunter tripped one of Minho's wires. A spotlight blazed to life, blinding them. At the same moment, Minho triggered the first explosive. Fertilizer and fuel ignited with a massive boom, throwing dirt and debris into the air. The hunters scattered, moving to new positions. They were fast, faster than humans could be, but now they knew the property was defended. A voice called out in that musical language. Yuna translated through her device. "They say to surrender. They say they will kill me quickly and let you live if you give me up now." "Tell them to go to hell," Minho said. Yuna spoke in her own language, and her voice was full of authority. The hunters responded, and whatever they said made her skin flash bright red. "They insult my honor," she said. "They say I hide behind a human servant like a coward." "Let them think that," Minho said. "Underestimating your enemy is a good way to lose." The hunters advanced again, more carefully now. One of them stepped on a pressure plate Minho had buried. A net made from wire and rope shot up, tangling their legs. They fell hard, and Minho took his shot. The rifle cracked loud in the night. The bullet hit the fallen hunter's helmet and ricocheted off, but the impact knocked their head back hard. They went limp. The other 2 hunters opened fire. Energy bolts like concentrated lightning blasted through the air. One hit the workshop wall near Minho's head, burning through metal like it was paper. The smell of ozone filled the air. Minho rolled to a new position and fired again. Miss. The hunters were too fast, zigzagging as they moved. Yuna stood and fired back with her own weapon. Blue energy met red energy in the air between them, creating bursts of light that hurt to look at. One hunter broke left, trying to flank them. Minho triggered another explosive. The blast threw the hunter backwards, their armor smoking. They did not get up. The last hunter, the leader, charged directly at the workshop. They were incredibly fast, covering the distance in seconds. They smashed through the door, and suddenly the fight was close and personal. Minho swung his rifle like a club, but the hunter blocked it easily. They grabbed the rifle and tore it from his hands, throwing it aside. A fist came at Minho's face and he barely dodged. The punch hit the wall behind him and went through it like paper. Yuna tackled the hunter from the side and they went down in a tangle of limbs and armor. They fought with speed and skill that Minho could barely follow. The hunter was trained and deadly, but Yuna was fighting for her life and she was fighting angry. She got on top of the hunter and punched down repeatedly. Her crystal fists hit the helmet until it cracked. Dark liquid alien blood sprayed out. The hunter went still. Yuna stood up slowly, breathing hard. Her armor was cracked in several places. More of that dark blood dripped from her wounds. She looked at Minho. "You are insane," she said. "Completely insane. You attacked trained warriors with primitive weapons and farming supplies." "Did it work?" Minho asked. Despite everything, Yuna laughed. "Yes, it worked." They checked the 3 hunters. 2 were dead. 1 was unconscious. Minho tied up the unconscious one with rope from his workshop. They would need to question this one later. But as they worked, Yuna went very still. Her skin turned dark purple, almost black. "What's wrong?" Minho asked. "The one who escaped," Yuna said. "The injured one." "They got away during the fight?" "They will report our position." "How long do we have?" "Hours, maybe less. Tajin will send more, many more. An entire squad, maybe 2. We cannot fight that many." Minho looked at his damaged workshop, at the craters in his garden, at the alien bodies on his property. His quiet life was not just over. It was completely destroyed. "Then we finish fixing your ship," he said, "and we get ready to fight until you can leave." "You will die," Yuna said flatly. "Maybe," Minho agreed. "But at least I'll die fighting instead of hiding." They went to the spaceship and worked through the night. Minho's hands moved automatically, making repairs he barely understood. Yuna directed him, her voice calm despite their situation. The ship's systems were coming online one by one. Power, navigation, weapons. As dawn approached, they heard it. A sound in the distance, engines, multiple ships. The hunters were returning and they were bringing an army. Minho loaded his last box of ammunition. He had maybe 50 bullets left. Against an army, it would not be enough. But it was all he had. Yuna stood beside him, her weapon charged and ready. Her skin glowed bright with determination and fear and something else. Something Minho recognized because he felt it too. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for fighting for me. No one has ever done that before." "You're welcome," Minho replied. "Now let's show these bastards what happens when they mess with a janitor." Above them, ships appeared in the sky, blocking out the stars. The ships landed in a circle around Minho's property, creating a wall of metal and lights. Soldiers poured out, at least 20 of them. They moved with military precision, setting up defensive positions and weapons that hummed with deadly energy. At the center of it all stood a figure in white armor, clearly the commander. Minho and Yuna retreated to the house. It was a poor defensive position, but it was all they had. Minho boarded up windows and pushed furniture against doors. Yuna set up energy barriers using portable generators from her ship. They would not hold forever, but they might buy some time. The commander's voice boomed across the property, speaking in that musical alien language. Yuna translated, her face dark with anger. "Commander Jiho. He was one of my trusted officers. He says I have 1 hour to surrender before they destroy everything." "1 hour," Minho said. "Can your ship be ready by then?" "No." It needs at least 3 more hours for the main systems to fully initialize. And even then, it may not be able to fly properly with the damage it sustained. They looked at each other. The situation was hopeless, and they both knew it. But neither suggested surrendering. "I have an idea," Minho said. "But you're not going to like it," he explained his plan. They would use the house as a distraction while Yuna worked on the ship. Minho would hold off the soldiers as long as possible, giving her time to escape. "No," Yuna said immediately. "That is suicide. You will die." "Maybe," Minho said. "But you'll live. You can go back and reclaim your throne. Isn't that more important?" "No," Yuna said again more forcefully. Her skin flashed bright red. "I will not leave you to die alone." "Why not?" Minho asked. "I'm just a janitor. A human servant." "That's what you called me." "That was before," Yuna said quietly. Her skin shifted to soft colors, pinks and golds. "Before I knew you. Before you made me laugh. Before you taught me to cook and showed me your photographs and fought an army for me." They were standing very close now. Minho could see the colors moving beneath her crystal skin, like emotions made visible. "What changed?" he asked. "Everything," Yuna said. "On my world, I'm surrounded by people who want things from me. Power, favor, status, but you wanted nothing. You just helped because that is who you are." "I'm not that special," Minho said. "Yes, you are," Yuna replied. She reached out and touched his face gently. Her hand was warm and smooth. "You are kind and brave and clever. You make me feel seen, truly seen for the first time in my life." Minho's heart was beating fast. "Yuna, The commander's voice interrupted them, speaking again in that alien language. Yuna's eyes widened. "What did he say?" Minho asked. "He says the hour has begun, and that when it ends, he will destroy this house and everything in it." Minho pulled away from Yuna and checked his rifle. "Then we better make this hour count." They set up defensive positions throughout the house. Minho upstairs with his hunting rifle. Yuna downstairs with her energy weapon. They had a few remaining explosives rigged as last resorts. But the soldiers did not attack immediately. Instead, they waited, letting the hour tick down. Psychological warfare, Minho realized. Making them sweat, making them scared. Minho sat by the upstairs window, rifle ready, watching the soldiers watching him. He thought about his life, about all the years he had wasted hiding. If he died today, what would he have to show for it? An empty house. A ruined garden. 15 years of loneliness. No, that was not fair. He had the last few days with Yuna. He had laughed more in the past week than he had in the past decade. He had felt alive again. If this was the end, at least it was an end worth having. Yuna called up the stairs. "Minho, come down here, please." He found her sitting on the couch, looking at the photographs he had shown her earlier. She held his wedding picture in her hands. "Tell me about her," Yuna said. "Your wife. What was she like?" Minho sat beside her. "Smart. Beautiful, ambitious. She wanted more than I could give her. A better life. A bigger house. A husband who was more than just a janitor." "She was a fool," Yuna said. "Maybe I was the fool," Minho replied, "for thinking I was enough." Yuna set down the photograph and took both of his hands in hers. "You are enough. You are more than enough. You are brave and kind, and you make impossible things seem possible. Yuna, I am a queen," she continued. "I have power beyond your imagination. I could have anything I want in the universe. But right now, in this moment, what I want is you." Minho's breath caught. "I'm just a human. You're royalty. We're from different worlds." "Yes," Yuna said, "and that is why this matters. Because it is impossible, because it should not work. But it does." She leaned closer, and Minho could see every color in her crystal skin. Up close, she was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. His heart hammered in his chest. "We might die in an hour," he said. "Then let us not waste the time we have," Yuna replied. She kissed him. It was soft and gentle and strange. Her lips were smooth like glass and warm like sunlight. Minho felt something break open inside his chest, something that had been locked tight for 15 years. He kissed her back, and the rest of the world fell away. When they finally pulled apart, Yuna's skin was glowing with colors he had never seen before. Bright yellows and oranges and pinks like sunrise. "I have never felt this before," she said quietly. "This warmth, this connection. Love?" Minho asked. "I do not know your word for it, but yes, I think so." They sat together on the couch holding each other. Outside, soldiers waited to kill them. A commander counted down the minutes until their destruction. But inside, for just a moment, there was peace. "I wish we had more time," Minho said. "We still have time," Yuna replied. "We have this moment." "That is enough, is it?" "It has to be," the commander's voice called out again. The hour was almost up. Final warning. Minho stood and picked up his rifle. Yuna activated her weapon. They looked at each other. "When this starts," Yuna said, "I want you to know something. These past days with you have been the happiest of my life." "Mine too," Minho said. "If we survive this," Yuna continued, "come with me. Come to my world. Be my consort. Stand beside me as I reclaim my throne." "I don't know anything about being a consort," Minho said. "You do not need to. You just need to be you." Before Minho could respond, explosions rocked the house. The attack had begun. Energy blasts punched through walls. Soldiers charged forward, weapons firing. The final battle had started. Minho took position at the upstairs window and started shooting. Each bullet counted. He aimed for weak points in armor, for joints and visors. He was not a soldier, but he was a good shot. One soldier went down. Then another. Downstairs, Yuna fought like the warrior queen she was. Blue energy filled the air as she fired and dodged and struck back. She took down 3 soldiers in rapid succession, but there were too many. For every soldier they stopped, 2 more took their place. Slowly, inevitably, they were being pushed back. Minho's ammunition was running low. Yuna's weapon was overheating. The house was falling apart around them. Fires burned. Walls collapsed. Minho's home, his sanctuary for 15 years, was being destroyed. He made it downstairs, moving through smoke and debris. He found Yuna fighting hand-to-hand with 2 soldiers. She was incredible, moving with grace and power, but she was tiring. They both were. Minho fired his last bullets, taking down 1 soldier. The other turned toward him, weapon raised. This was it, Minho thought. This was the end. Then a massive explosion shook the entire property. Everyone stopped and looked up. In the sky above Minho's house, a new ship appeared. Huge, sleek, powerful, and it was firing on Commander Jiho's soldiers. "My flagship," Yuna breathed. "My people found me." The tide turned instantly. Jiho's soldiers retreated to their ships, trying to escape. But they were caught between Yuna's flagship and 2 angry fighters who refused to give up. Within minutes, it was over. Enemy ships were destroyed or fleeing. The flagship landed in what remained of Minho's garden. A ramp extended and figures in royal armor emerged. At their head was a woman, tall and fierce, wearing the armor of a general. She knelt before Yuna. "My queen, we searched for you. Finally, we traced your ship's signature here." Yuna stood tall, every inch the queen again. "General Hana, I am glad to see you." The general's eyes moved to Minho, taking in his simple clothes and his old rifle. "Who is this human?" "This," Yuna said, taking Minho's hand, "is Kang Minho. He saved my life. He fought an army for me. He is under my personal protection." General Hana looked skeptical but bowed. "As you command, my queen." Medics rushed forward to treat their wounds. Soldiers secured the area. Officers reported on the status of the fleet and the Empire. Yuna listened and gave orders, slipping back into her role as ruler. But she never let go of Minho's hand. General Hana worked quickly, organizing the surviving loyal soldiers and securing the area. Medical teams treated Yuna's wounds while Minho sat nearby, still holding his empty rifle. His hands were shaking now that the danger had passed. Adrenaline leaving his system. "You are in shock," a medic said, approaching him. The alien looked similar to Yuna, but with green-tinted skin. "Let me treat you." Minho let the medic work. Strange devices scanned his body. Warm patches were applied to bruises he had not known he had. The medic worked efficiently and said nothing, but kept glancing at him with curious eyes. Yuna finished giving orders and came to sit beside Minho. Her wounds were bandaged now, and she looked stronger. "Your people are very efficient," Minho said. "They are well trained," Yuna replied. "General Hana is the best tactical officer in my fleet. If she found me, that means others might too." As if summoning it with her words, alarms began blaring from the flagship. Officers shouted reports. General Hana ran to Yuna, her face grim. "My queen, long-range sensors detect multiple ships entering Earth's atmosphere. 20 vessels, all marked with Taijin's signature." Yuna's face went cold and hard. He is not taking chances this time. He sent an entire battle group. "We cannot fight that many," General Hana said. My flagship and 2 escort ships against 20 warships? We need to retreat. No, Yuna said firmly. If we run, Tajan will follow. He will chase us across the galaxy until he catches us. We must make our stand here. My queen, that is suicide, General Hana protested. Perhaps, Yuna said, but I am tired of running. Minho stood up. His legs felt steadier now. How long until they arrive? General Hana looked at him with surprise, as if she had forgotten humans could speak. 2 hours, maybe less. Then we have 2 hours to prepare, Minho said. He looked at Yuna. You said I could come with you. That offer still good? Yes, Yuna said without hesitation. Then I guess I have something to fight for, Minho said. And I know this property better than anyone. I know the terrain, the hiding spots, the best defensive positions. Let me help plan the defense. General Hana looked at Yuna in disbelief. My queen, surely you cannot be considering. I am, Yuna said. General Hana, meet Kang Minho. He defeated 3 elite hunters with primitive weapons and farming supplies. I believe he has useful insights. The general looked at Minho with new eyes. You defeated hunters? How? Traps, tactics, making them fight on my terms instead of theirs, Minho said. Same principles should work here. For the next 2 hours they planned. Minho suggested using the terrain to their advantage. His property had hills and trees and ditches. They could set up crossfire positions, create ambush points, use the environment against ships designed for space combat. General Hana was skeptical at first, but as Minho explained his reasoning, she began to see the value. She added her military expertise to his practical knowledge. Together they created a defensive plan that might actually work. Yuna's soldiers dug trenches and set up energy barriers. They positioned the flagship to provide cover fire. They rigged Minho's remaining explosives as mines. They turned the property into a fortress. Minho worked alongside the alien soldiers. They looked at him strangely at first, this human in dirty clothes carrying an ancient rifle. But when they saw how hard he worked, how clever his suggestions were, they began to treat him with respect. One soldier, a young male with blue skin, approached Minho during a break. Is it true you fought for the queen with only a rifle and explosives made from fertilizer? The soldier asked. Yes, Minho said. Why? She is not your queen. This is not your war. Minho thought about that. Because she needed help. Because it was the right thing to do. Because sometimes you have to fight for something bigger than yourself. The soldier nodded slowly. I understand. You are brave, human. Just Minho, he said. My name is just Minho. As the 2 hours ended, Minho stood with Yuna on a small hill overlooking his property. Everything he had built over 15 years was now a battlefield. His house was damaged. His garden was destroyed, but he felt no regret. I am sorry about your home, Yuna said quietly. It's just a place, Minho replied. I was never really living here anyway, just hiding. And now I'm alive, Minho said. Scared but alive, Yuna took his hand. If we survive this, I promise you a new home. A better one. I don't need a better one, Minho said. I just need one with you in it. The sensors began screaming warnings. The enemy fleet had arrived. 20 warships appeared in the sky, massive and deadly. They surrounded the area, weapons charging. The lead ship was largest of all, covered in black armor and crackling with red energy. A hologram appeared in the air above Minho's property. It showed a man in ornate armor, his face cruel and proud. Commander Tajan, Yuna. His voice boomed across the battlefield. Your rebellion ends today. Surrender and I will give you a quick death. Yuna stepped forward, projecting her own hologram so Tajan could see her. She stood tall and proud, every inch a queen. Tajan, you are a traitor and a coward. Come down here and face me yourself if you dare, Tajan laughed. I am not a fool. I will simply destroy you from orbit. And destroy this human city in the process? Yuna gestured toward the distant town. These people are innocent. They have nothing to do with our war. Tajan hesitated. Minho understood the play. Tajan wanted to be emperor, but he needed to be seen as just. Killing innocent civilians would turn potential allies against him. Then my soldiers will come down and finish what the hunters started, Tajan said. Say goodbye to your human pet, Yuna. The hologram vanished. A moment later, transport ships began descending. They landed in waves, disgorging soldiers by the dozens. Not 20 or 30, hundreds, an entire army. They advanced in formation, weapons ready. The battle began. Yuna's flagship opened fire, energy beams cutting through the sky. Soldiers on both sides began shooting. The air filled with the sound of explosions and weapons fire. Minho took position in a trench, his rifle ready. He had scavenged ammunition from fallen soldiers. Energy weapons were better, but he understood bullets. He aimed carefully and fired. One enemy soldier fell, then another. Beside him, Yuna fought with deadly grace. Her energy weapon never stopped firing. She moved like a dancer, beautiful and terrifying. Soldiers fell before her, unable to match her skill and speed. But there were so many enemies. For every soldier they stopped, 5 more advanced. The defensive lines were slowly being pushed back. An explosion nearby knocked Minho off his feet. His ears rang. Smoke filled the air. He could not see Yuna. Panic grabbed his chest. "Yuna!" he shouted. "Here!" Her voice called back. She appeared through the smoke, helping him up. "Stay close to me." They fought back to back, protecting each other. Minho's rifle cracked. Yuna's weapon hummed. Around them, loyal soldiers fought desperately. General Hana directed fire from the flagship, her tactical mind working to find any advantage. Then the worst happened. A massive combat mech, 30 feet tall and covered in weapons, stomped onto the battlefield. It was designed to destroy fortified positions. "Its cannons could level buildings. Fall back," General Hana ordered. "Everyone fall back to the flagship." But there was nowhere to fall back to. The mech advanced, its cannons charging. Minho looked at the mech, then at his property, at his workshop where he had spent countless hours fixing things. "An idea formed. I can stop it," he said. "How?" Yuna asked. "My workshop. I have industrial chemicals there, acids, solvents, things that can eat through metal. If I can get it into the workshop, I can bring it down." "That is suicide," Yuna said. "Maybe," Minho replied. "But it's our only chance." He ran before Yuna could stop him. He ran toward the mech, waving his arms and shouting. The mech's sensors locked onto him. It turned, weapons targeting this single human who dared challenge it. Minho ran into his workshop with the mech following. It was so large it had to break through the walls to enter. Inside, Minho had prepared. He had opened every container of industrial chemical he owned. Acids pooled on the floor. Solvents filled the air with toxic fumes. The mech stepped into the chemicals and its metal feet began to smoke and corrode. Minho triggered his final trap. A makeshift EMP built from his truck battery and loops of copper wire. The electromagnetic pulse hit the mech at close range. The mech's system sparked and failed. It toppled forward, crashing down. Minho barely rolled out of the way as tons of metal hit the ground. The chemicals ate through its joints and circuits. It would not be getting up again. Minho stumbled out of the workshop, coughing from the fumes. Yuna was there immediately supporting him. "You are insane," she said, but she was smiling. The destruction of the mech changed the battle. Enemy soldiers saw their most powerful weapon defeated by a single human with chemicals and wire. Their advance faltered. General Hana pressed the advantage, coordinating fire from the flagship. Yuna rallied her soldiers, leading a counterattack. The tide was turning, but Taijin's flagship began descending, its massive weapons charging. He was going to end this personally. "He is coming," Yuna said. "Taijin himself." "Good," Minho replied, reloading his rifle. "Let him come." The flagship landed with a ground-shaking impact. A ramp extended. Commander Taijin walked down. Surrounded by elite guards in white armor, he carried a weapon that crackled with red lightning. He looked at the battlefield, at his retreating soldiers, at the destroyed. Taijin stood before them, powerful and menacing in his black armor. His elite guards fanned out around him, weapons trained on Yuna and Minho. The battlefield had gone quiet. Both sides watched, waiting to see what would happen next. "By law, you can challenge me for the throne," Taijin said to Yuna. "Single combat. Winner takes the empire." "I accept," Yuna said without hesitation. "No weapons. No armor. Traditional combat," Taijin continued. He smiled cruelly. "You are wounded and tired, cousin. You cannot win." "Watch me," Yuna replied. She began removing her armor piece by piece. Minho grabbed her arm. "You don't have to do this," he said quietly. "We can fight together." "This is my burden," Yuna said. "My responsibility. He betrayed me. He killed my people. This is between us. You're exhausted. You've been fighting for hours." "I know," Yuna said. She touched his face gently. "But I'm also fighting for something now. For a future. For you." She kissed him quickly, then stepped away. She stood before Taijin in just her undersuit, no armor, no weapons. Just her body and her will. The two aliens circled each other. Then they attacked. The fight was brutal and fast. They moved with inhuman speed, striking and blocking and countering. Taejin was larger and stronger. But Yuna was faster and more skilled. They were evenly matched. Taejin landed a hit that sent Yuna sprawling. She rolled and came up fighting. Her fist caught Taejin's jaw, snapping his head back. They grappled, fell, rose again. The combat was ancient and savage. Blood began to flow. Dark alien blood from both fighters. Yuna's wounds reopened. Taejin's face was cut and bleeding. Neither would yield. Minho watched with his heart in his throat. Every time Yuna fell, he wanted to rush in and help. But he knew she needed to win this herself. For her honor. For her throne. The fight went on and on. Both fighters were slowing, tiring. Taejin threw Yuna to the ground and kicked her hard in the ribs. She coughed and blood sprayed from her mouth. "You were always weak," Taejin said. "Too kind, too soft. Not fit to rule." Yuna looked up at him. "I was not weak. I was merciful. There is a difference." She swept his legs out from under him. As he fell, she mounted him and began striking. Once, twice, 3 times. Her fists rained down like hammers. Taejin tried to block, but he was too slow, too tired. Yuna was fighting with everything she had left. For her throne, for her people, for the human who had shown her what it meant to be truly cared for. Finally, Taejin stopped moving. Yuna stood on shaking legs, breathing hard. She was covered in blood, both hers and his. "It is over," she declared. "I am queen. Taejin is defeated." The elite guards looked at each other. By law, they had to accept the outcome. They knelt before Yuna. One by one, the enemy soldiers followed. They laid down their weapons and submitted. Yuna swayed on her feet. Minho rushed forward and caught her before she fell. Medical teams swarmed around them. General Hana was shouting orders, securing prisoners, establishing order. They carried Yuna to the flagship's medical bay. Minho stayed by her side the entire time. Doctors worked on her injuries while she drifted in and out of consciousness. When she finally opened her eyes fully, Minho was still there, holding her hand. "Did I win?" she asked weakly. "You won," Minho confirmed. "You're still queen." "Good," Yuna said. She squeezed his hand. "Then I can still offer you that position. Come with me, Minho. Come to my world. Be my consort." Minho looked at her, at this incredible being who had crashed into his life and changed everything. He thought about his house, destroyed now. His garden ruined. His quiet life gone forever. But he also thought about the past days. About laughing with Yuna over burned rice. About teaching her to cook. About fighting beside her. About feeling alive for the first time in 15 years. "I don't know anything about your world," he said. "I'm just a janitor. I clean floors. I fix broken things. I don't know how to be a consort to a queen." "You do not need to know," Yuna said. "You just need to be you. Kind and brave and clever. That is enough. What about Earth? This is my home, is it?" Yuna asked. "Or was it just a place you were hiding?" Minho thought about that. She was right. He had not been living on Earth, he had been existing, going through motions. Waiting for nothing. "Your world is so far away," he said. "I would never see Earth again." "We can visit," Yuna said. "Often, if you wish. I am queen. I can do what I want. Your people might not accept a human consort. Then they will learn to accept it," Yuna said firmly. "Or they will answer to me." Minho looked around the medical bay. Alien technology. Alien soldiers. Everything was strange and impossible. But Yuna's hand in his felt real and warm. "I spent 15 years hiding from life," he said slowly. "Maybe it's time I actually lived." Yuna's skin brightened with colors, showing her joy. "Is that a yes?" "That's a yes," Minho said. "I'll come with you." She pulled him down and kissed him. Around them, alien medical staff tried not to stare at the queen kissing a human. Over the next few hours, things moved quickly. General Hana organized the fleet. Prisoners were secured. Damage was assessed. Earth authorities were approaching, drawn by the massive battle. Military helicopters circled in the distance. "We need to leave soon," General Hana told Yuna, "before the humans send their military." "Agreed," Yuna said. She looked at Minho. "Do you need time? To say goodbye? To gather belongings?" Minho looked at his destroyed property. His house was barely standing. His garden was a crater. Everything he owned was ruined or destroyed. He went inside anyway and salvaged what he could. His photographs, water-damaged but salvageable. A few books. Some seeds from his garden that had somehow survived. His grandfather's old watch. He put it all in a backpack. At the last moment, he grabbed his work uniform. The janitor's uniform he had worn for years. He folded it carefully and put it in the bag. A reminder of who he had been. He walked outside to find military vehicles arriving. Soldiers in hazmat suits approached cautiously. Officers shouted orders. Helicopters hovered overhead, cameras recording everything. An officer approached Minho with a bullhorn. "Sir, step away from the spacecraft. This area is quarantined." Minho looked at the officer, then at the flagship where Yuna waited. He made his choice. He ran to the flagship. The officer shouted for him to stop. Soldiers raised weapons, but they did not fire. Maybe because it was too strange. Maybe because they were too scared. A human running toward an alien warship. Minho reached the ramp. Yuna stood at the top, her hand extended. He took it and she pulled him inside. The ramp closed behind them. Through the window, Minho watched his property disappear as the ship rose. He saw his destroyed house, his ruined garden, the military vehicles swarming over his land, all of it growing smaller and smaller. "Regrets?" Yuna asked. "No," Minho said. "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." The ship broke atmosphere and entered space. Minho pressed his face to the window and saw Earth below him, beautiful and blue and impossibly fragile. His home, the planet where he had lived for 45 years. "Will I ever come back?" he asked. "Whenever you wish," Yuna promised. "But first we have work to do. An empire to reclaim, a throne to secure, and after that?" "After that," Yuna said, taking his hand, "we build a life together. One where queens and janitors can be equals. Where crystal palaces have gardens with earth tomatoes. Where two people from impossible different worlds can find home in each other." Minho looked at her, at this incredible being who had chosen him. "That sounds perfect." The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed and Earth vanished behind them. Minho was heading into the unknown. No plan, no preparation. Just a backpack of memories and a queen holding his hand. General Hana approached them. "My queen, we will reach the fleet rendezvous in 6 hours. Then it is 3 days to the capital. We must plan our strategy for retaking the throne." "Later," Yuna said. "Right now I need rest. Minho will stay with me." They went to Yuna's quarters. The room was large and filled with technology Minho did not understand. But there was also a bed, and they were both exhausted. They lay down together, still in their dirty clothes, still covered in the dust of battle. Yuna curled against him, her crystal skin warm and smooth. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" Minho asked. "For choosing me. For choosing this life. I know you gave up everything." "I gave up nothing," Minho said. "I gained everything." They fell asleep in each other's arms, a queen and a janitor, traveling through space toward an uncertain future. But together they were ready to face whatever came next. Minho woke to see stars through the window. Real stars, close and bright and in colors he had never imagined. They were passing through a nebula, clouds of gas and light that looked like paintings in the sky. He stared in wonder. Yuna stirred beside him. "Beautiful, yes?" "I never imagined anything like this," Minho said. "This is just the beginning," Yuna replied. "Wait until you see the capital, the crystal city of Valtheos Prime." Over the next 3 days, Minho learned about Yuna's empire. He met her officers and advisors. Most were skeptical of him at first. A human consort? Impossible, inappropriate, against tradition. But Yuna made it clear that anyone who disrespected Minho would answer to her. And slowly, as they saw how she looked at him, how she valued his opinion, they began to accept it. Admiral Wu Jin, an older male with silver skin, approached Minho on the second day. "The queen seems different, happier, more confident." "She was always confident," Minho said. "No," Wu Jin replied. "She was always strong." "That is different from confident. Strength comes from will. Confidence comes from knowing you are valued." Minho thought about that. "She saved me too, you know. I was just existing before, not living." "Then you saved each other," Wu Jin said. "That is rare. That is special." General Hana remained the most skeptical. She cornered Minho in the observation deck on the 3rd day. "I do not understand what she sees in you," Hana said bluntly. "You are not a warrior, not a diplomat, not trained in politics or strategy." "No," Minho agreed. "I'm none of those things." "Then what are you?" Minho thought about it. "I'm someone who sees her. Not the queen. Not the ruler of 17 star systems. Just her, Yuna. That's all." Hana studied him for a long moment. "Perhaps that is enough," she said finally. Perhaps that is exactly what she needs. On the third day they arrived at Valtheos Prime. Minho pressed his face to the window and stared in awe. The planet was beautiful. 2 moons hung in the sky. The capital city covered half a continent, built entirely from crystal and metal that caught the light and threw rainbows everywhere. Towers rose miles high. Bridges connected impossible distances. Everything gleamed and shimmered. "That is my home," Yuna said, standing beside him. "That is where I was born. Where I was crowned. Where Tajin betrayed me." "It's incredible," Minho breathed. "It will be your home too now," Yuna said. "If you still want it." "I want it," Minho said. "I want you." But reclaiming the throne would not be easy. Tajin's forces had scattered after his defeat. But they still controlled key positions. Some nobles supported him. Others waited to see who would win before choosing sides. General Hana organized a strategic assault. They would infiltrate the capital through the service tunnels and maintenance systems. Minho's suggestion: "Every building has blind spots," he had explained. "Places workers go that rulers never see. Air ducts, waste systems, power conduits. If the palace is anything like buildings on Earth, we can use those to get inside." The plan worked. Minho led a team through tunnels and shafts that palace guards never watched. They moved through systems designed for workers, for servants, for people considered beneath notice. "This is your expertise," General Hana admitted as they crawled through an air duct. "These places where important people never look." "I spent my life in places like this," Minho said. "Cleaning them, fixing them. Nobody ever notices the janitor." They emerged in the lower levels of the palace. From there they fought their way up. Yuna led the charge, her weapon blazing. Minho stayed close, protecting her back. They reached the throne room where Tajin's second-in-command had declared himself temporary ruler. The man, a noble named Deho, sat on Yuna's throne wearing her crown. "That," Yuna said coldly, "is mine." The fight was brief. Deho surrendered when he saw Tajin was dead and the battle was lost. Other nobles quickly followed, abandoning their support of the coup. Yuna walked to her throne and sat down. She picked up her crown and placed it on her head. Around her, loyal subjects knelt. "I am Yuna, Queen of Valtheos, ruler of 17 systems, guardian of the Crystal Throne," she declared. "I have returned. The rebellion is over." Cheers echoed through the throne room. The Empire had its queen back, but when nobles expected her to immediately start executing traitors, Yuna surprised them. "There has been enough death," she said. "Tajin is gone. Those who followed him did so out of fear or misguided loyalty. I will not rule through terror. Those who swear loyalty now will be forgiven." It was a controversial decision. Some nobles argued for harsh punishment. But Yuna was firm. She had learned something from Minho about mercy and second chances. The weeks that followed were busy. Minho tried to stay out of the way as Yuna rebuilt her government and restored order, but she insisted he be involved. "You are my consort," she said. "You stand beside me, always." So Minho attended council meetings. At first he said nothing, just listened. But slowly he began to offer suggestions. Simple, practical ideas that came from his years of maintaining buildings and solving problems. When nobles complained about inefficient supply chains, Minho suggested reorganizing based on systems he had seen at his research facility. When engineers struggled with a failing infrastructure system, Minho pointed out obvious fixes they had overlooked. The nobles stopped seeing him as just a human. They began to value his perspective, his practical ground-level view of how things actually worked. "He sees what we miss," Admiral Wujin said. "We think in grand strategies. He thinks in simple solutions." One day, 6 months after arriving, Minho was working in his new office when Yuna found him. She wore simpler clothes now, not always the formal robes of state. "Come with me," she said. "I have something to show you." She led him through the palace to a set of doors he had never noticed. They opened onto a rooftop garden. "I had this made for you," Yuna said. Minho stared in wonder. The rooftop was covered in soil and plants. Earth plants, tomatoes and peppers and herbs, exactly like his garden back home. But there were also alien plants he did not recognize, growing alongside the familiar ones. "I thought you might miss your garden," Yuna said. "So I made you a new one. Earth and Valtheos together, like us." Minho walked through the garden, touching leaves and feeling soil. His eyes were wet with tears he did not bother hiding. It's perfect, he said. Thank you. They sat on a bench in the garden looking out over the crystal city. The view was incredible. Miles of gleaming towers, ships flying between buildings, millions of beings living their lives. Are you happy? Yuna asked. Truly happy? Yes, Minho said without hesitation. Are you? More than I have ever been, Yuna replied. She leaned against him. The nobles have started calling you something. What? The Janitor King, Yuna said. At first it was meant as an insult. But now they say it with respect. The human who cleans up problems and fixes what is broken. Minho laughed. I've been called worse. I think it is perfect, Yuna said. You are not a warrior or a politician. You are something better. You are someone who makes things work. Over the following months, Minho settled into his new life. He kept his garden and often invited others to visit. He discovered that many palace workers felt ignored and overlooked. So he made a point of knowing them, learning their names, hearing their concerns. He created a system where workers could report problems directly without going through layers of bureaucracy. Simple things got fixed faster. Efficiency improved. People felt valued. You are changing the empire, General Hana told him one day. In small ways, yes. But important ways, I'm just doing what I know, Minho said. Taking care of the little things so the big things work better. One evening, Minho recorded a message to Earth. Yuna had set up a communication system that could send signals across the galaxy. It would take months to arrive, but he wanted to send it. He sat in his garden and spoke to the camera. My name is Kang Minho. I used to be a janitor at a research facility. I lived alone, and I was lonely, and I thought my life was over. He paused, looking at the alien city around him. Then a spaceship crashed in my garden. An alien queen asked for my help, and I said yes. That one choice changed everything. He smiled. I'm telling you this because I want you to know something. We are not alone in the universe. There are other beings out there, other worlds, other possibilities. And humans, we belong out here. We can stand beside alien queens and fight alien armies and adapt to impossible situations. But more than that, I want you to know that it is never too late. I was 45 years old and hiding from life. I thought I was done, but I was wrong. Life can change in an instant. You just have to be brave enough to say yes when it offers you something new. He looked directly at the camera. Home is not a place. Home is the people who see you for who you really are. The people who value you. The people you choose to stand beside. I found my home among the stars with an alien queen who saw a janitor and decided he was worth saving. So don't give up. Don't hide. Say yes to the impossible. You never know where it might lead. He ended the recording and sent it toward Earth. That night, Minho and Yuna stood on their balcony, looking at the stars. 2 suns were setting, painting the sky in impossible colors. Below them, the crystal city sparkled with millions of lights. Do you ever regret leaving Earth? Yuna asked. Sometimes I miss it, Minho admitted. I miss rain. I miss the smell of cut grass. I miss speaking my language without a translator.